My name is Benjamin Jin, and this is my final project for Korean 3410 on the film The Northern Limit Line. So, introduction. So, the film is based off a real event and it was released in 2015. The film basically recreates the second Battle of Yeonpyeong, which occurred in 2002. The film was directed by Kim Ak-sun, and the storyline of the movie is where North Korea invades South Korea by passing the Northern Limit Line. It is a film that invokes a lot of emotions from the audience that is watching. So more about director Kim Ak-sun. So to be honest, actually not a lot is known about Kim Ak-sun. Um, he is most known for this film, The Northern Limit Line, and it caught the attention of more than 6 million viewers after a month of the movie's release. Just this alone made the film one of the top grossing film in 2015. Um, yes, so that is Kim Ak-sun. So the actual film was released on June 24, 2015, and like I said, it received more than 6 million viewers just a month after its release, and the movie was screened at several international film festivals, and it was awarded several rewards and even nominated for several of them. So moving on to the cast, so we have Lee Hyun-woo as Petty Officer Park Dong-hyuk. He is the main character, and we follow him throughout most of the movie. Um, Yeah, and then we have other supporting characters such as Chingu as Lieutenant Lee Jin-seok. His job in the movie was basically to steer the ship. He was at the helm. He was a helmman, and he would be basically acting as like the body of the ship as he like steered the ship to the whoever told him where he needed to go, and he provided a very important aspect to uh, Park Dong-hyuk. Park Dong-hyuk's job was to be a medic for the other sailors, and yes. And moving on to the last person, his name is Huey. This is Kim Woo-yeol as Lieutenant Park Dong-hyuk. Um, he was the highest ranking officer on the naval ship. He acted not only as the command for everyone else, but he also did a lot of like watching. He watched the waters. He always had a binocular to look out for North Korean ships, and he was the eyes, while Lieutenant Lee Jin-seok was the steering wheel. So this lieutenant, he would be telling him to you know turn, just we need to go this place, so turn the steering wheel like 300 degrees and whatnot. So that is what happened. So for the synopsis, so in the film, the Yellow Sea is divided between north and south by a line called the Northern Limit Line. The film portrays South Korean sailors patrolling the Northern Limit Line to make sure North Koreans don't pass the line, as it would be seen as a sign of invasion. Eventually, North Korean naval ships invade below the North Korean limit line into South Korean territory. The South Korean sailors fight to protect their country and survive the conflict. The film portrays the bravery and sacrifice of the soldiers who fought in the Northern Limit Line conflict. So, for the historical background, so the Northern Limit Line is a maritime boundary between North and South Korea. It was established after the Korean War in 1953. And if you didn't know, the Korean War, it didn't end with one side winning. They just ended it neutrally. And some people even say, like, even today, the Korean War is still happening. And yes, however, the exact location of the northern limit line has been disputed by both countries. So there was no exact northern limit line, and both sides were conflicted between whether the line was essentially more north than they thought or more south than they thought. And this resulted in the northern limit line conflict, which resulted in the deaths of 6 South Korean sailors and the sinking of one patrol boat. Because of the northern limit line conflict, the conflict heightened tensions between North and South Korea. So what I learned or what stood out to me about this film were three main things. So the first one was the situations of the soldiers and sailors. They all had family members or loved ones back at home waiting for them to come back after, multiple days, sometimes weeks from being at sea just to keep them safe from, North Korea. And I found that really touching and, just really, yeah, it was really touching. Another thing I noticed was the hierarchical structure of the army. I know it is common in the army to have like lower ranking soldiers having no choice but to obey the orders of their, senior ranking officers. But in the film, there were small moments where the lower ranking soldiers, were correct about something about a certain situation. They would suggest something, but the higher ranking officials didn't listen or respect them. So I found that to be, pretty like, it wasn't mind blowing because it was expected, but I just thought it was pretty dumbfounding to me. And the last thing was, just the army in general. When the sailors were on the ship, regardless of whether or not they were on duty, they always had to be prepared for battle situations. Regardless of, whatever they were, they could be eating, sleeping, whatever. But as soon as they hear the alarm, they had to drop everything they were doing and get ready for battle. This made me think that they would never be able to truly relax or have a moment of peace, as anything could have happened at any time. My take on the movie was in the first half of the movie. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty slow and nothing really happened. You know, the movie it introduced the characters, and to be honest, it seemed like there was no plot. Um, but in the second half of the movie, everything started to pick up. Like the North Koreans, they crossed the limit line, and they engaged in a battle with the South Korean sailors. And the second half of the movie was basically just them, battling, and there was a lot of blood. It was pretty gruesome. One of the soldiers or sailors, he had his leg completely cut off. Another soldier, he had his like fingers cut off, and it was pretty gruesome. And I think the director Kim Hak Soon, he did that on purpose, and it was really I think he recreated the scene to make it as gruesome as possible, and he did it really well. Sadly, all of the main characters died, and what really was very sad was how their loved ones were suffering from the deaths of the sailors. Made me think about how all of them were just carrying on like a normal day in their lives, and all of a sudden they get a call saying that their son, lover, friend had died at sea. Made me think about the whole situation of war and the battles and the pain and sadness that is passed through as a consequence. So, in conclusion, The Northern Limit Line is a powerful and moving film that portrays the bravery and sacrifice of South Korea's sailors who fought in the Northern Limit Line conflict. It also portrays the sadness that was experienced by the people of South Korea. Director Kim Hak-soon accurately recreates the event and showcases the heroism of the soldiers based off of what they had to go through. The film was well received, and although it was slow in the beginning, the middle and end do not disappoint. Thank you.